start on time. I apologize for that.
Is the family all gone?
All right.
So you heard my message about your mother.
No.
Your mother called. She's on her way to the doctor's. She will join us next week.
Okay. All right. So we are on chapter 26, verse 36. And we moved quickly because we were bored.
I was going to say,
yes. We were bored. I was bored.
No, not just you, all of us.
Okay.
But we wanted to stop before 27 because why? There was something about this that caught my attention. Oh, now I can't remember what it was. Maybe we were just on 27. I have it marked for 36, but well, let's just read it. Let's read 36 on and then we'll figure out what
36 or 26?
Chapter 26, verse 36.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'll read. You shall make a screen for the entrance of the tent of blue, purple, and crimson yarns and fine twisted linen done in embroidery. Make 5 posts of acacia wood for the screen and overlay them with gold, their hooks being of gold, and cast for them 5 sockets of copper. I have a note here that says, oh, sorry, that's, oh, no. So this is a little bit before this. Back in 35, I just have an interesting note where it says, place the table outside the curtain and the lampstand by the south wall. So it says here, the table was on the north side of the tabernacle, 2.5 cubits from the wall. The lampstand was on the south side, 2.5 cubits from the wall. The golden altar was placed opposite the space between the table and the lampstand, just slightly east of them. All of them were in the inner half of that part of the tabernacle outside of the Holy of Holies. For the tabernacle was 20 cubits long from entrance to curtain, and the altar, table, and lampstand were all more than 10 cubits west of the entrance. So this is just, again, reminding us about the 3 different sections. There's the 3 sections. There's the outer section, which is where lots of people can congregate. There's the inner section, which is where the lampstand and the table and the altar were. And then there's the Holy of Holies. That's part of that inner section, but it's considered a separate section as well.
Dina, I just wanted to add that we were talking a lot about why we needed to have all this information.
Right, all these details, yeah.
Well, when I left the week before, one of the last things I had said was that if this thing has to be dismantled every time they travel, right. Not so much what it was made of, but how it was constructed needed to be reinforced so that they could put it together every time they took it apart and moved it.
Right, knowing that the lampstand was 2.5 cubits from this wall would be exactly what they need to know to get it right back into place.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Huh.
Okay. Let's keep going. So chapter 27, you shall make the altar of acacia wood. I think we did this.
I had my marker in this page, my marker from the...
Yeah, I did too, but I thought we did this. Oh, well, we'll do it again. You shall make the altar of acacia. So this is, remember, this is the altar on which sacrifices were made. There are 2 altars. There's one for sacrifices and one for incense. So this is the altar sacrifice.
Yes, we discussed that. We did discuss
yeah, I know. I think we did also. So we'll just read it quickly.
All right, but I have a question. So is this the altar outside of the tabernacle, but inside the Mishkan?
Well, the tabernacle and the Mishkan are the same thing.
All right, sorry. So
this is, let me find a Mishkan. Let me find you a picture.
This is outside of that holy space.
It's outside of the Holy of Holies.
But inside
of the Holy. So let me show you. Hold on. Here's a nice one, although it's a little small. Let me share this with you. Hold on a second. All right, so you should be able to see it. I'll zoom in on it. So this back here is with the large standing up place is the Holy of Holies.
Right.
Then the outer court is separated into two parts. So you see the altar, and then the basin is. Wait a second.
So that's
Wait,
my question. So this altar is the one in the courtyard.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Inside the tabernacle proper, there are two sections. That's
Right.
what we need to see, a cross section of that. Let me see if I can find a cross section of that. Yeah, here you go. So here's the cross section of that. I apologize. So the inside, you've got on the bottom, you've got the lampstand, the menorah. Across from that, you've got the table of the showbread, and then you've got the incense altar right up against the curtain, and then behind that curtain is the Holy Ark. All of this is, and then when you go outside of that, so that's all inside this building. Outside of that, you have this round thing, which is across from the two cows, which is the basin in which they would wash their hands. And then next to that, you have the altar where they would make the sacrifices.
Okay. All right. So my question is, this altar that we're going to start reading about, is this the one in the courtyard near the
Yes.
two cows? Okay. But I do.
The one inside is just for incense burning. And I think we're actually going to read about that in a little bit also, but this is.
I do need to tell you that the one I have for incense burning is not up against the curtain. It's directly in between the showbread table and the lampstand.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So also, about 2.5 cubits or whatever it is.
Huh.
At least in the picture that I have.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense for it to be right up against the curtain because flames can travel and then you'd burn the curtain.
But the picture showed it was. The picture.
Well, that picture's not particularly big, so I can't see a whole lot of it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm not sure. By the way, this picture also is not the greatest picture. The one that I had of the outside.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of is. See the ramp right below the altar? So there are other pictures where that ramp is much, much longer. Like, for example, this one.
Yeah, right.
Right. So.
Okay.
Let's see if there's. I don't see a better picture here.
Those are really drawings, so.
Yeah, no, look, we don't have an actual picture, of course.
Right.
This might be helpful. Look at this. Okay. So this is nice.
And that one has the altar even further away.
Right. So yes. So you've got 30 cubits, the ark, the table, the menorah, the altar, the small altar. This is the incense altar. And then outside you've got this copper altar with the ramp.
Right.
And then they add an additional part of the courtyard. See, that's where I was confused. This courtyard here is really, I thought it was considered a separate part, but apparently it's included. It's this whole outside, and then these two intersections are the three parts of the Mishkan.
Right.
Okay. In any case. All right. Let me get back to this. Okay, so make the altar of acacia wood 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The altar is to be square and 3 cubits high. Make its horns on the 4 corners, the horns to be of one piece with it, and overlay it with copper. Make the pails for removing its ashes, as well as its scrapers, basins, flesh hooks, and fire pans. Make all its utensils of copper. I'm going to read one more. Make for it a grating of meshwork in copper, and on the mesh, make 4 copper rings at its 4 corners. No, I'm going to keep going. Sorry. Set the mesh below under the ledge of the altar so that it extends to the middle of the altar, and make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with copper. The poles shall be inserted into the rings so that the poles remain on the 2 sides of the altar when it is carried. Make it hollow of boards. As you were shown on the mountain, so shall they be made. Oh, crap. I forgot to invite Sai again. I always forget to invite him. Gotta remember him. Okay. Make it hollow of boards as you were shown on the mountain, so shall they be made.
You know, there's notes here. I don't know if you want to hear them or not. Under the outer altar sacrifices and its accessories. Anybody want to hear that?
Yeah, good.
Back a little bit. It talks about copper, better bronze. See comment to 25.3. I wonder why they were distinguished between the bronze and the copper. That seems silly. Or not.
Well, no, well, it's not silly. If you need to make it precisely, you need to know what metal they're using.
Well, it says better : bronze.
Right. So I guess they're translating as bronze.
And then, okay.
The Rashi comment about why copper, and I shared this last week, is to atone for stubbornness. The book of Isaiah, it says, your neck is like an iron sinew and your forehead is copper. And apparently telling someone they have a copper forehead was to tell them that they were stubborn.
Huh.
And so we use copper to atone for our stubbornness. Hi, Sai.
Hi.
Are you not getting the invitation that I'm emailing you? I'm so sorry.
No, I just got it, and I was a little behind in time.
Oh, okay. I apologize for that.
But it's interesting because they say better bronze. I always thought bronze was harder than copper. They were talking about stubborn.
Oh, it's an interesting question. I don't know. There's a question here which is interesting. Why was the sacrificial altar overlaid with copper and not gold or silver like all the other utensils of the tabernacle? Right. So the ark, the menorah, the table, everything was made of gold or silver except for this.
Is this better resistant to fire?
That's what I was just thinking. It may be for very practical purposes. And I don't know. I mean, well, gold certainly melts, but copper melts also under intense heat, doesn't it?
I never tried.
I wonder what.
No, the melting point of copper might be higher than the melting point of gold. And if you look at bronze, it might be even higher. So
Bronze is harder, I think. Harder.
while you're
All right, ready?
Good.
Point of copper is 1,981 Fahrenheit, and gold is 1,946.
What does bronze say?
I'm going to look that up too. Sorry, give me a second. What's the melting point of bronze? 1,000. Oh, it's lower.
It's lower? That's interesting.
Yeah. 1,190 to 1,675.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that really is interesting.
Huh.
The alloy of, I'm sorry?
You go ahead.
I was just saying, the alloy of copper and zinc is historically referred to as brass instead of bronze. The discovery of alloying another metal with copper to create a more durable material during the Chalcolithic period was a revolutionary technological improvement. The earliest known bronze items have been dated to 4,500 BC, originating in Serbia.
So zinc and copper mixed together? Is that what you were saying?
No, they're saying that copper and zinc were historically called brass.
Oh, brass.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went back to that reference that Lenore mentioned, and the note says for copper, a better translation is bronze, a stronger alloy of copper and tin, used extensively in the Near East as early as the 3rd millennium BCE.
Copper and tin.
Oh. And I just looked up brass. So apparently it says here, by varying the proportions of copper and zinc. So it sounds like not only were copper and zinc called brass, but it sounds like what you were saying, Lenore, is that they're included in brass. The properties of brass can be changed, allowing hard and soft brasses. And it's an easy material to cast. So that would make sense.
I'm thinking of a very beautiful old lamp that my mother had that I have now, which we always said we didn't know whether it was brass or bronze. It looks bronze.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Someday I'll pull it in and bring it and show you. It's very pretty.
Okay.
Okay, so I have an interesting note about horns.
Yeah.
Although this is a literal translation, it provides no sense of what these so-called horns actually were. They were box-like protrusions at the four corners of the altar. In the larger altar of the temple, they were 1 cubic square and 5 handbreadths high. That's from Rambam. And the blood of sin offerings was placed on them.
Wait, I'm sorry, the what sin offerings?
The blood of sin offerings.
Huh.
The blood of chatot. And then it says also the horns were to be made from the altar itself, not made separately and then attached.
Right.
What was the reason for that? You mentioned that, I think, Rabbi, last time, but I can't remember what it was. The reason that they were not separate?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say Fox also has a interesting footnote about the horn, saying that many altars have been dug up in this area for both Israelite, non-Israelite, in origin fitting the description of having horns. Add-ins that could be described as horns. The origin and the purpose of the horns aren't clear, but we do know that when an Israelite wanted to be granted asylum, for instance, he could grasp the horns of the altar. See 1 Kings 1, chapter 1, verse 5.
Huh. This is a nice little recreation here that I have on my screen. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's a nice little
Well,
recreation.
those really look like horns.
Yeah.
I'm
But you
seeing
said that
a whole
but
lot
you-
of pictures there. Which one are you referring to?
this one.
The big one?
Yeah. But
Okay.
you said, Dina, that they were square.
According to wait a minute, I just lost the note. Hold on. According to Rambam in Childa Beis Habechira, it was they were 1 cubic square and 5 handbreadths high, so they were boxes.
Yeah, those are big. A cubic square is big. It almost looks like, see what's right on this picture, what's right below the horns? I wonder if that's what he's referring to, and then the horns protrude out of that.
It almost looks like a planting, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. The picture in my Chumash just shows 4 squares.
So here you go. Here's with 4 squares.
Yeah, that's like the
Oh,
picture
yeah.
from my
Yeah.
Chumash.
But there's nothing in those.
Huh. So the problem with this word karnotav, this is the same word that's used when Moses is coming down from the mountain and he has rays of light coming out from his head. It's this word that caused Michelangelo to make David with horns,
The horns.
because the same word keren, it means a ray of light, and it also can mean horn. So I'm not surprised that there's confusion about what this actually means.
Okay, so I can't show you from my book because people can't see it because it's too small. But the altar seems to have the top like mesh area is recessed down.
Right.
I can't tell how high. So then you've got these 4 box-like things on the corner, and then on top of them there are they're almost pyramid shaped, except that the top is cut off with like round holes.
Okay.
Almost like chimneys.
Oh, interesting. So the text here says that the mesh is set below, under the ledge of the altar.
Right.
Right.
That's not the same thing as grading, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this says grading, a kind of sieve placed beneath a ledge that runs all around the altar, perhaps to catch falling embers.
Oh, no, see, that's not how I imagine. I thought that I thought that the grate or the mesh was what you put the animal on.
Well, this is to catch falling embers.
Oh, that's interesting. I assumed that's what you put that's what you put the animal on.
Hmm.
Huh.
But there's nothing else on that altar. So
What do you mean? What do you mean there's nothing else on the
well, did we read about something on top of the mesh?
No. We didn't. So again, let me see if I can't find a picture of the mesh. Here, this isn't. Oh wait.
That mesh is pretty far down in my picture.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the grading is something different. I envision mesh as much more like a strainer type material, whereas a grading is like, you know, over a thing on the sidewalk is wider. So it doesn't.
Yeah. It doesn't tell us the size of, you know, the size of the holes or anything like that. But I assumed that it was like, oh, you can't see this. I'm sorry. I thought I was showing it to you. Hold on a second. This is what I imagine it looking like. Forget the horns for a second, but the grading is
Right.
That looks like a grading, that thing.
right, and that you put the animal right on top of it.
Right.
To me, mesh is smaller, like a small strainer type.
Right. This, I should just note that this is probably not the best resource because Messiah Yeshua was able to endure, it says on here. So this is a Chew for Jesus image. So I'm gonna change that. Oh, this is a nice one.
Well, that's more like a mesh.
Yeah.
That's your mesh.
I don't know why they have the image here going all the way down.
What do you mean you don't know why they have it going all the way down?
Why is it looks like there's mesh like for 5 feet below the actual.
My picture actually shows the mesh layer, I want to say about halfway up the whole altar.
Okay. Here, this is a.
That has nothing on it.
And underneath that, I mean, the whole thing was hollow, right?
Oh,
Hollow box. So the altar was not a solid wooden square, but a hollow box. Its interior was filled with earth whenever the people encamped and reassembled the tabernacle. So you've got that mesh grating that's going to catch the burning embers, but everything else is going to drip through onto the dirt, which then can be removed with the shovels or the basins, whatever not the basins, the, what do they call it? The scraper.
This is a really interesting video. This guy he's reading each verse by verse, and showing you a 3D rendering of how he imagines it looked. It's very interesting. Huh.
what was that you just passed over? Flat.
This looks like it might be the
Yeah, what is that?
the altar for incense. I don't know the veracity of this guy or these claims, but it's an interesting thing.
Mm.
Oh well. Okay. All right, let's keep going.
Where are you on this?
I have no idea. Verse 9. Verse 9.
Okay.
You shall make the enclosure of the tabernacle on the south side 100 cubits of hangings of fine twisted linen for the length of the enclosure on that side, with its 20 posts and their 20 sockets of copper, the hooks and bands of the posts to be of silver. So every 5 feet there's a post, and there's 100, not every 5 feet, every 5 cubits, there's a post. Again, 100 cubits of hangings for its length along the north side, with its 20 posts and their 20 sockets of copper, hooks and bands of the post to be of silver. And then for the width of the enclosure, on the west side, 50 cubits with 10 posts. So again, every 5 cubits. And the width of the enclosure on the front or the east side is again 50 cubits. But then 15 cubits of hangings on one side with 3 posts and 3 sockets. 15 cubits of hanging on the other side with 3 posts and 3 sockets. And for the gate of the enclosure, a screen of 20 cubits. Right, so 15 is 30 plus 20 is 50, of blue, purple, and crimson yarns and fine twisted linen done in embroidery with their 4 posts and their 4 sockets. So the only part that's different is the 20 cubit gate is every, oh no, I'm sorry, it's not. It's the same, every 5 cubits.
So back
The
to
difference being that one's embroidered.
Yes. Sorry,
So-
go ahead.
according to what you were saying before, Dina, we have to take all this apart and put it back together?
Sure.
All this?
Oh no, so how much of this, well, the curtaining they do. Once they build the altar and stuff, they don't take it apart, they just carry it, they schlep it along. But all the curtains and the posts, yeah, they take them all down and put them all back together. They have to schlep them through the wilderness.
So the lace, what they're calling, I have lace hangings. I don't remember what you called it. Just hangings. So it's unadorned except for the 5 cubit gate.
Right. Right. We don't even get the blue, purple, and crimson yarns. It's just plain. Screen of 20 cubits. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Oh, this is okay. Listen to this. This is Nachmanides. He's commenting on the front or east side. What verse is this? Hold on. Verse 13. Right, the front or east side. Hebrew calls the east the front and the west the rear. These synonyms are based on the image of a man facing the rising sun. The south is called the Negev because it is naguv, dried by the heat. Sometimes the synonym is immediately followed by the more literal name, as it is here and in 26:18. West is sometimes referred to as seaward from the point of view of those who live in the land of Israel, for whom the Mediterranean Sea is in the west. There is no synonym for north, but its Hebrew name Safon is derived from Safun, hidden, for the sun is never seen in the north. Darom, derived from the phrase dar rom, for the sun dwells high in the sky in that direction. In accordance with the image of a man facing the sun, north is also referred to as left, and the south as right. The deeper meaning of these names is known from Ezekiel's vision of the chariot. Similarly, the reference to west as seaward can be understood from the saying in Bava Batra, which is the tractate of the Talmud, the Shekhinah is in the west, or the presence of God is in the west. For the sea, the reference to the, oh, now we're getting into what's it called, Kabbalah. The sea is a reference to the Sphirah, to the mystical level of wisdom. As the Midrash says, sea means Torah. Its measure is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. And then he ends this comment by saying, I intend to return to this subject in my comment to Deuteronomy 33:23 if my rock blesses me to reach that verse.
Oh,
I love that. If I'm lucky enough to get there, I'll have more to say about it.
that's
But
a
listen
lot.
to this. The eastern side of the enclosure was not literally 50 by 50, but 50 by 49. and the open space on the other 3 sides was 19 cubits, not 20. The essence of a man's life is the first 50 years. The full 100 cubits represent the greatest possible extent of life.
Oh,
The essence of a man's life is the first 50 years.
wow.
Wow, I have 4 more years to go. All right.
I was just gonna say, he's not living in our time because they'd up that.
Right, right. Yeah. Even, you know what, Lenore, even in the rabbinic teachings, even in Pirkei Avot, we learned that you don't even attain wisdom until you're older than 50. You don't attain spiritual strength until you're older than 50. So yeah, this is an interesting teaching in light of some of the other rabbinic teachings we have about age. Okay. I've forgotten where I left off. I'm sorry.
Oh gosh. Well, next page we're done.
Verse 17, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
All the posts round the enclosure shall be banded with silver, and their hooks shall be of silver. Their sockets shall be of copper. Oh, so there's another copper thing.
Mhm.
The length of the enclosure shall be 100 cubits, and the width 50 throughout, and the height 5 cubits, with hangings of fine twisted linen. The sockets shall be of copper. All the utensils of the tabernacle for all its service, as well as all its pegs and all the pegs of the court, shall be of copper. Well, now wait a second. I thought the comment before said that
What?
they were made of silver and gold. Oh, maybe this is the
court. This is the court, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, right. Oh, so there's our answer then. Everything in the court, almost everything in the courtyard is copper because it's not the holy of holies. It's not the holies, right?
Right.
Oh. It's not the best.
Right. It's not the best, exactly.
Next to the best.
Yeah.
But it's strong.
So the one thing that it hasn't talked about is the ramp.
Yeah, you're right. That's interesting. Does it say anything about the ramp it didn't say anything about the ramp, did it?
Not here, no. And yet, when we went, if you go back to the vestments of the high priest, which I'm seeing here, thought we had before, one of the things was that there has to be like an undergarment so that nobody should see their nakedness. And I know we read this, something about it couldn't be stairs because if they had to lift their legs, there'd be a chance to see nakedness. So it had to be a ramp. And I know we read it.
Oh my God.
And it was back, I want to say it was back in that area when we were talking about the court system, the indentured servants. And I don't know why it fit in there, but somehow way back there, that's where I remember it. Do you have any memory of that?
No. So I just found something about the ramp. I'm sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
I don't remember as much, but I do remember something about stairs being problematic as far as nakedness went, but I don't remember where it was.
So here's where that comes from. So I'll just read the whole comment. So Exodus 27, 1-8 has pretty much covered everything about the altar, but since the altar was around 5 cubits tall, there also had to be a way of somehow accessing the altar. Thus, a special ramp was built to allow convenient access to the altar, as well as it has provided a place to keep handy most of the utensils. Unfortunately, the original text does not give any explicit details about this ramp. On the other hand, the text seems to imply that this ramp was to be of any arbitrary and practical design. Commentators like Rashi make note that this ramp to be of a sloping design, not to have any steps like the staircase does. Rashi says this comment is back on Exodus 20:23. When you will build a ramp for the altar, do not make it as a row of steps, which are called echelons in Old French, but rather it should be flat and sloping, so that your nakedness not be revealed. Because Because due to these steps, you will have to broaden your strides. And though it would not be an actual uncovering of the nakedness, for it is written, make for them the Kohanim linen pants. Nevertheless, the broadening of the strides comes near enough to uncovering one's nakedness, whereby you will be acting towards them, meaning the stones of the steps, with disrespect. You can derive from these things a fortiori. How do you say that? Fortiori?
Sounds okay to me.
Okay. Just as these stones that have no sense to take offense at their denigration, yet this is beautiful. Just as these stones that have no sense to take offense at their denigration, and yet the Torah stated that since there is a need for them, do not act disrespectfully towards them, then your fellow man, who is in the image of your Creator and takes offense at his denigration, how much more must you be careful not to show him disrespect? That makes sense? So
I don't think that's so beautiful. I think that's ridiculous.
no, wait, stop, hold on, wait. So the Torah tells us, well, not the Torah, but Rashi here says to us, don't build steps because you will uncover your nakedness on the way up those steps. You'll be showing your nakedness to the stones, and those stones are there for a reason. And you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't disrespect the stones in that way because they have a sacred purpose, even though they don't care. Stones don't care. So ala chat kama v'kama, how much more so should you not disrespect your fellow human beings who are here for a sacred purpose and will care if they are disrespected or denigrated? I think that's lovely.
Well, I think that's fine to talk about the people. To me, the stones don't resonate in that fashion.
But that's where they get the teaching
And
from.
that's the comment. And the teaching is it's the very last pasuk of Yitro.
Right.
You shall not ascend my altar on steps, so that your nakedness will not be uncovered upon it.
Right. All right. So that's where the ramp comes in.
And it's the comment that you just read from Rashi about, if the Torah commands us to refrain from shaming the altar and steps, surely a person should be eternally vigilant.
Right. Now, interestingly, by the way, in Ezekiel, there is a staircase. There's no ramp. So there are different perspectives, apparently. All right, so I'm going to mark my book for the beginning of Parshat Tetzaveh, chapter 27, verse 20. And we'll pick up there.
Okay.
All right. Andrew, Sai, Dina, Lenore, it's so good studying with you. Thank you for making the time. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll see
Are you going anywhere?